at the cross, where I first saw the light and the burdens. It was there by faith I received my sight, and now I am happy all the day. At the cross, at the cross, at the cross, where I first saw the light. I received my sight, and now I am happy. Let me hear you, no music. At the cross, at the cross, at the cross, where I first saw the light and the burners rolled away. It was there by faith I received my sight, and now I am happy all the day. Last time, at the cross, at the cross, at the cross, where I first saw the light and the burdens. It was there by I received my sight, and now I am happy all the. Last time, real big. At the cross, at the cross, at the cross. It was there by I received my sight, and now I am happy all the day. Amen. Our mission statement. Ready? Read. We vow to grow together as a church family and disciple through loving and spiritual relationships, while continuing to allow the seed of the word to transform us individually, to make an impact on the world by helping people experience God and enhance their faith. Amen.
you're a witness to the works of God, stand to your feet, give God praise in this place. For God is an awesome God. Come on, the Bible teaches, let the redeemed of the Lord say so. And if you're breathing, if you're in this place, you ought to give him praise, honor, and glory. Those watching by social media, open up your mouth, give God praise. Type it on the screen that I am a witness. Those outside in the cars, wave your hand in the car and say, I am a witness. Those that's on the prayer line, open up your mouth in your home and say, I'm a witness. Definitely those of you that are in the sanctuary, that's not in a cemetery, go ahead and open up your mouth and say, I am a witness. Now witness to 2 or 3 people around you. Tell them, neighbor, I'm a witness. Yes, I am. Come on, tell them, I am a witness. Yes, I am. I am a witness. God will give you more of what he's already been giving you. Another chance, another day, another blessing, another miracle, another win, another victory, another healing. I can't hear so well. Another meal on the table, another safe night in your house. Safety that goes beyond your alarm system and the gun that's under your pillow or bed. Somebody here know God will give you more of what he's already been given. Can you witness to somebody? Tell them, neighbor, God will give you more of what he's already been giving you. But ask him, have you been thankful for what he's been doing? Come on, ask him, are you grateful for what he's been doing? Come on, open up your mouth and bless his name. Bless his name. Come on, open up your mouth and bless his name. Bless his name. Bless his name. Bless his name. Come on, bless his name. Bless his name. God is a God of abundance, and God will never run out. God will never run low. God is a God that's more than enough. Whatever you need, God will supply that, won't he? God will do it, won't he? God will handle it, won't he? You know what to say. Just go ahead and say, God, I knew you would. God, I knew you would. God, I knew you would. We're moving on, but just tell 2 or 3 people around you, I knew God would. I knew God would. Come on, that person beside you don't want to have any church. They're consumed with the festivities of tomorrow, but for some of you, you ought to go ahead and say, I knew God would. I knew God would. I knew God would. I knew God would. That is equivalent to saying everything is going to be all right. Somebody needed to hear that today. You didn't need a whole lot. You just needed somebody to tell you everything's going to be all right. Can you look at somebody? You don't have to get in their business, but just tell them, hey, everything's going to be all right. Huh? Tell them like you mean it. Tell them everything's going to be all right. You just hold on a little while longer. Everything. Tell them, I know it's heavy, it's hard, it hurts. But tell them everything's going to be all right. Everything is going to be all right. No matter how heavy your load, everything it's going to be all right. Everything it's going to be all right. Everything will be all right. You rest your Bibles these few minutes, Psalms 46. Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in the time of trouble. Therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried away in the midst of the sea. Though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof, Selah. There is a river, the streams thereof make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacles of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God shall help her, and that right early. The heathen raged, the kingdoms were moved. But God uttered his voice and the earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge, Selah. Come, behold the works of the Lord, what desolations he hath made in the earth. He maketh wars to cease unto the end of the earth. He breaketh the bow. He cutteth the spear in sunder. He burneth the chariot in the fire. So if God's going to do all that, the only thing I need to do while God is working is to be still. Look at somebody, tell them, you're doing too much. God didn't ask you to move any mountains. He didn't ask you to do any of that. While God is working, the only thing you need to do is be still and know that God is God. And I will be exalted among the heathen, and I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Selah. Thank you. You may be seated. I came to report to you today that God is never out of control of anything that's out of control. The silent movements of God is where the miracle lies. Because you need to understand that trouble makes a lot of noise. But sometimes you want God's power and God's voice to be equivalent to the noise of trouble. But sometimes God silently moves through situations, and it's already worked out before you see it. It's already worked out before your mind can comprehend that God has already made a way. But your quandary is that, well, Pastor, if that be so, then when I look at my life, when I look at how things are going in my life, it seems that what you're saying is not making sense according to the life that I'm living. That statement sounds contradictory, and it sounds controversial because it seems that death has the last word. It seems that disease has the last word. It seems that I'm dealing with destruction and destitution. I'm dealing with depression everywhere. It seems that everything that I'm going through that I try to avoid, it tells me that you can't avoid me. If you look around your life, the more you try to set yourself up to be employed, you keep finding yourself unemployed. It's saying you can't avoid me. The more you try to keep yourself free, the more you keep finding yourself captured by some situation, because trouble says that you can't avoid me. The more you try to live, the more the cemetery keeps calling your name, because cemeteries say you can't avoid me. So then your question becomes, then, God, where are you when I need you the most? Well, the Bible just told us that when the heathen is raging and things are out of control, the Bible says he's not just with us, but God is right there in the middle. But the problem is, when I'm in the middle of a war, when I'm in the middle of things that's breaking down all around me, then it's hard for me to see God in the middle. And so I've come today to challenge your faith, because the truism of this psalm is that it encourages every believer, every child of God, that you have to learn how to trust in God, trust in God's power, trust in God's providence, trust in God's presence, because sometimes God's lesson for you is he wants his presence to be enough. When you read the construction of this particular verse, he gets to verse 5, he says, God is in the midst of her. Then in verse 7, he says, the Lord of hosts is with us. And then when he gets to verse 8, he says, in verse 9, he says, then you see what God is going to do, because God says, I'm going to give you my presence before you see my power. Because if you don't have enough faith to trust that God is there, if he is there, do you have enough faith to trust that God's going to do what you need him to do when he manifests his presence? Because there are people that come to the particular premises of your problem, and they are trying to handle your situation, but when they get there, they can't do anything. So the only thing they can offer you is the ministry of presence. But some of you, you're going through some traumatic situations in your life that just a human presence is not enough. You need somebody that's a human that got power. But when humans have let you down, God is still saying, I'm still standing in line, waiting on you to run out of opportunities for another human to step in. And so he says that sometimes your wars will increase, sometimes they will intensify, but you be encouraged that through Christ, you're going to be a conqueror over them all, because the only thing he asks you to do is just be still and know that he's God. Which means that every experience that you go through, that experience gives an explanation of who God is and what God can do. But sometimes you miss the lessons because you're running here and there. Sometimes you miss the lessons because you let the storm get so much of your mind. You let the problem get so much of your heart. You get stressed out. You get tense because God, do you see what's going on? And God is saying, hey, I got this under control. But you're saying, well, God, you're still. God is saying, even in my stillness, I'm active. Because some of you can only feel that a person is helping me when you see them moving. But sometimes God shows you that I can be still and I still got your life under control. I'm preaching to somebody here today that you're saying that, Pastor, how can I trust God? How can I hold on? How can I be still when God seems that he's not moving? It seems that this is a mystery. I need to know, because life for me is all about finding out. Life for me is always knowing what's my next move. Life for me is always being careful and laying out a plan. But sometimes God will let your plans fail, so you can see that there's no failure in him. So the lesson is today, child of God, that I want to press in your spirit these few minutes and we'll get out of here, is that we don't have to know what God is doing. We just know God suffices. He's enough. Can you tell somebody God is enough? Tell them like you mean it. Tell them, neighbor, God is enough. But then the next question is, and we'll hang our hat here, is that how can we have a sustainable faith when the master seems quiet and the miracle seems questionable? How can I have sustainable faith? How can I trust that God's going to work this thing out? Because, Pastor, you just told me that wars will intensify. The heathen is going to rage. But then it took you 9 verses to finally tell me that God will make the war cease. Well, for you, you never want the war to begin. Or you want the war over. But there are times when God will allow things to look like it's out of control. It just looks like your life is out of control. It just looks like you're out of options. But I said to someone this morning, I said to him, I said, brother, you need to understand that options are in the earthly realm, but your outcome is in the spiritual realm. Are you listening to me? I'm just about done. We're going to get out of here. But many of you have parked at your options, at what you can only do in the temporary realm, in the earthly realm, but your outcome is in the spiritual realm, which means that everything that you need is in the spiritual realm. Everything you need comes from God. Every answer you need comes from God. Every power source, every source that you need comes from God. That's why the psalmist says, all of my help comes from God, and not just a mere God, but the God who made heaven and earth. You got to distinguish in which God you trust. And so if you're going to have sustainable faith, number one, you have to be maintained by the fullness of God. It means that you got to be kept by the fullness of God. What do you mean? It's right here in verses 1 through 3.
he says, God is our refuge and strength. He's a very present help in the time of trouble. And when I make a statement of faith like that, the next thing I need to be saying is what's in the first clause of verse 2. I ain't worried about nothing. You're not listening to me. When you make a declaration like that's in verse 1, God is my refuge and my strength, and he's a very present help in the time of trouble, then nothing else that will make you apprehensive, nothing else that will make you fearful, none of that even matters. Even if it happens, it don't matter, because I've already settled in my mind about the fullness of God. God is not an incomplete God. No. In his fullness, God is. I'm trying to find 6 of you that can tell somebody God is. God is my refuge and my strength. You see, all of the I can'ts of life will meet the God is of life. And you need to understand, I don't know what you're worried about. And then he gives us the extremes of the possibilities of what can happen, the possibilities of what can make a human apprehensive. He says, if the earth be removed, I ain't scared. He says, though the mountains be carried forth in the midst of the sea, which means if the mountains are transported from point A to point B, I ain't scared. Watch what he says. Though the waters thereof start roaring and get trouble, he say, I ain't scared. He said, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof, I'm not scared, because God is. And that's synonymous to your life, child of God, that when God is, no matter what extreme that you can conjure up in your mind, because sometimes you can tell somebody God will make a way, but they keep on trying to explain their situation. You can tell people that God is, but they keep on trying to explain why they should have fear. You can tell people that God is, but they keep on trying to give a situation or a scenario on why I shouldn't trust him. You can tell people that God is, but they still try to find a way to say, but I don't know what I'm going to do. When you settle in your mind that God is, that's the fullness of God. I heard what the doctor say, but God is. I don't care how you magnify your sickness in your mind, and yes, you're living with the sickness in your body, but God is. Yes, you're living with the cancer, but God is. Yes, you're living with organs that's not performing at 100% capacity, but God is. When God is, nothing makes you afraid. For every though, THOUGH, there is, God is. Nothing else can make me afraid when God is. I am maintained by the fullness of God. He really could stop at God is, but he goes on to say that God is my refuge. That word refuge means a place of trust. He's a shelter. A place that I can run and hide in rain and danger. A place that I can quietly go for protection. See, the lesson is that he wants you to historically understand that even in this present day, that bomb shelters are good for anything but a direct hit. I can't hear so well. Huh? As long as the bomb hits over there, you're in good shape. As long as it hits over there, you're in good shape. As long as the bomb flies over your shelter and hit way over there, you're in good shape. But when it makes a direct hit, it's over. Well, the lesson is, if God is your refuge, can't nothing hit him. I'm trying to preach how strong God is and how strong your faith ought to be. Nothing can hit God. Nothing can take God out. I thought y'all knew when to praise God. Let me try this again. God is my refuge. And no matter what missiles or bombs are going through the air to come at it, can't nobody hit God. And while I'm in there, I'm not worried about the activity on the outside because I'm too busy appreciating the safety that God provides for me, the security that God provides for me on the inside. See, I can be in the doctor's office and be in the place of refuge at the same time. I can be at the bank without $1 and need some credit and they ain't gonna give it to me, but I can be in my place of refuge at the same time because the refuge keeps what's going on the outside from getting on the inside. So that's why I can sit here with all hell breaking loose at home and I can sit here with my mind still. I can sit here in my right mind, not going postal, because that God is. Sit down. I'm just talking. Sit down. Please, sit down. I'm safe. You go out of here today knowing that I don't care what's going on at your premises or on your landscape of life. God says you can come to me and you know that you are experiencing him as your refuge when you have options to panic, but you're sitting in peace. I can't hear so well. I can look at it and I have the opportunity to push the panic button, but I sit there and I don't move because my refuge. Hold on, he didn't just say God is my refuge, he said, and he's my strength. Which means that God, he makes me bold. That word is ours. It literally means to prevail. It literally means to harden. Because when you know God got it, see, it is something when you operate with confidence. See, some people misread you and they think that you are cocky or you're conceited. But it's just called confidence. I'm sorry if I'm not that weak person. I'm sorry. I can't apologize for my confidence. When I walk with confidence. When I talk with confidence. When I give an answer, I give an answer with confidence because of my time with God. I can't hear so well. Luxuries of life don't make me confident. No. Luxuries, money don't make me confident. My confidence is in God because when I know that God is, then I can speak with boldness. If you're God's child, you have no business being weak. You speak with confidence. When you tell somebody the Lord will make a way, you don't say it fearful like you don't believe it yourself. You say it with confidence. And when you're talking to people who are able to give you a position or something and they say, well, you act like you already got it. When Abraham was on his way to sacrifice his son, he told the lads, you stay here with the donkey and I and the lad, we're going up yonder, but we're going to come back again to it. That's confidence. I can't hear so well. When Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, when the king said, now if you don't bow, the next time you hear this music, you're going to burn. They say, well, king, listen, let's get this on. You live forever. Y'all don't read the Bible. They say, king, listen, we know you in authority, live forever. We don't even want you to die. If we die today, it's okay. You live forever. But before we go, we want you to know, number one, we ain't going to bow. Number two, God is able. Number three, even if he don't, we still going down knowing he can't. That's confidence. Y'all don't know when to give God praise. I thought I was back at temple. Maybe I need to go back where I came from. Let's try one more. Jesus Christ said, now if you destroy this body, I want you to know you ain't got no power. Because 3 days I'm going to build it up again. That's not being conceited, that's confidence. When God is my authority, I am confident about what I say. When I say God will make a way out of no way, I am confident. Because he made me bold. But when you're not familiar with his fulfillment, when you're not familiar with his essence, then you're timid with your thoughts and your statements. And the enemy can smell fear. I can't hear so well. The devil looks at you and says, oh, they just talking. All that shouting and all that stuff, they ain't gonna do nothing. He tells us, if you ain't even got to do nothing, watch this. And he give you just a little firecracker. And you act like it's a bomb. If you are alive, trouble gonna come. Huh? When you're in the hospital, you know what makes a louder sound in your sickness? When you dead and that monitor goes to singing. So what's the ministry of the monitor? As long as I see it going up and down, up and down, up and down, I can take a little pain. Y'all don't know. Man, you know what? Let's go home. You know what? Let's go home. Y'all didn't come to have church. Let me try this one more time. Long as that line is going up and down, up and down, up and down, that means the patient got life. Long as those numbers are increasing and decreasing, that means I still got life. That means something is working. But when that line straighten out, somebody here that's been sick, you ought to thank God that the line didn't straighten out. Somebody here that had to stay some days in the hospital, you ought to be losing your mind that the line didn't straighten out. Those of you that's been watching some sick patients in your family, I know it hurt, but hang in there. Thank God you saw the monitor go up and down, up and down. Thank God you didn't see the line straighten out. So that means what? God is still working. That means what? God is still blessing. That means what? There's still a miracle despite of how bad it looks. Thank God for the line didn't straighten out, because guess what, child of God? He's my refuge and strength. Y'all, please be seated. Please be seated. Please be seated. I'm just talking. Please be seated. Please. Because many of you go to hospital rooms, you look at all the tubes and all the stuff that's hooked up to them. Don't look at that. I can't hear. That means there's still some activity. That means God is still doing something. Huh? And guess what? He's a very present help. Deliver me from people who show up when the storm is over. I don't need you when I get back on my feet. I can't hear so well. But God says, I don't show up when the storm ceases. God says when the storm is raging, God said, let's get busy. He said, first of all, call the roll. Some of y'all don't appreciate roll call. That's why the Bible says in verse 1, a very present help in the time of trouble. He said, call the roll. Every human that you think is going to be there, call their name and see if they say present. And sometimes God allows situations in your life for you to do roll call. Because it is then that you'll find out there are people, as Dr. Frank Ray says, that's able but don't care. But then you find other people that care but they just ain't able. God says, call the roll. And then when you run out of names, when you run out of family, when you run out of friends, God says, now call my name. Hold on. This is what got me. Very, very present help. That word very in the Hebrew means exceedingly. Much substance. It means force. And then that word present means to detect, define. But then when he gets to this word help, because everybody in a storm is not so. He says, if I'm a very present help, that means that as a child of God, you got equality in emergencies. He says, I don't have to use all my power. He says it just depends on the circumstance. For Elijah, he made him a brook. Then he dried the brook up. But for Moses, he parted the sea. Y'all not listening. You see, God says you don't need a parting sea moment when it's just a brook moment. I can't hear in here. God is saying you got to understand. He says what I do for you, I will measure out what I'm going to do for you as a miracle, because some things you think you need a whole lot. God said, you don't need a whole lot. You just need a little bit this time. He said, just appreciate what I'm doing. He says, I know you want a big magnificent come out. He said, no. You don't need that. You don't need me to part the sea this time. And sometimes he'll do it in the next chapter, because you got to understand, God shows him that I specialize with water. He says in chapter 14, I parted the water. But then when he gets to chapter 15, he made bitter water sweet. Y'all not thinking with me. Here, let's try it again. In chapter 14, he parted the water. God says some miracles for you to drink, others are for you just to be developed so you can depart from it, so you can be delivered through it. God is saying, hey, I know what I'm doing. God says, I don't need all of this. That's just like a cook in the kitchen. You see, maybe you have to use a Tried, but it just don't come out the way you do it because you know what you're doing. And that's what God is trying to say. I don't duplicate what I do. He says every miracle is an original. I can't hear so well in here. That's why we don't hear again about water until we get to the New Testament, until it is then that he changed water to wine, because he says I do things as it's needed in your life, but you just believe I'm a very present help in the time of trouble. That word trouble is sarah in the Hebrew, which literally means tightness. That word is really like a female rival. It's like an adversary. It's like adversity. That's what it means in the Hebrew. It's like affliction, distress, tribulation, or strait. God is saying in the time of tightness, in the time of affliction, he says that's when you're going to discover I'm a present help. And so after you make that declaration, he said, now let's go on with possibilities. Let's go on and see what can be hypothetical. Let's see what can happen. So therefore, I'm not going to fear. So guess what? If God is, and he's present, and he's help in a time of tightness and a strait, guess what? Just a possibility, hypothetically, if the earth be removed, I'm chilling. Though the mountains, I can sit here and see a mountain move, I ain't gonna be bothered about it. I'm chilling. Though the waters roar and be troubled, I'm all right. Though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof, I'm all right. As long as I got God, as long as I know that God is, nothing else will make sense. You can't make me doubt him because I know too much about him. I'm maintained by the fullness of God. Maybe you are praising an incomplete God, but as for me, I'm praising the fullness of God, because if I know God is, can I get about 100 of you in here that got it now, that just holler God is? Shout it loud, God is. Look at your neighbor and go ahead and mess up their eardrum and just say God is. Yes, I know too much about it. Huh? He's my refuge. I'm hiding in him. And he keeps me strong. He's my strength. Yes, God. And he's a very present help. That's just in verse 1. So no matter what comes beyond that, behind that, I'm all right. Because God is. That's why some of you in this room, so much can happen in your life and you can just hold it together and people are looking at you trying to make you break down. Trying to pull a cry out of you, trying to pull an emotion out of you. Please understand, I'm not saying that I'm super holy or superhuman, yes, but you can't make me break down. You can't make me be emotional because God already manages my emotions. I'm not saying that I'm not bothered by what happened. I'm not saying that I'm not bothered by a death or a disease. I'm just saying I know God got it. Do I have some I know God got it people in this room? Can you look at somebody and say, I know God got it? And if I tell you that I got a storm, what you gonna do about it? Not a thing. But when I've already talked to the Lord, do I have 40 people in here that can say, I've already prayed about it? Can you let's touch somebody's shoulder? Don't touch their hands. COVID is back on the rise. But look at somebody and say, neighbor, I've already prayed about it. That's the wrong neighbor. Touch another neighbor and say, neighbor, I've already prayed about it. That ain't the right one either. You know what? Forget about your neighbor. Just hold yourself. And remind yourself, I've already prayed about it. Is there anybody in this room believe God? I'm done. I'm out of here. But But can you look at somebody and say, neighbor, I believe God. All you got to do if you want to know about his fullness is just stop by Genesis chapter 1 that says in the beginning God. Is there anybody in this room today that knows that you don't have to go no further than that? Because nobody made God, but God, he made everything. And if God can make a world, then God, yes, can take care of your world. So you go out of here today saying that I got a feeling that everything. Praise in advance. And that's how you know that you believe God, that you. You ought to clap like you already got it. You ought to dance like you already got it, yes. You ought to lift your hands like you already got it, because I believe God is able. Can you look at somebody and say, neighbor, yes, I believe God is able. At Joseph's new tomb, it'll keep reminding you that there's no failure in God. Because if he can take spears, if he can take thorns and nails, yes, if he can hang on a cross, then there's no failure in him. He said, you can't take my life, but I'll lay it down when I get ready. And then I'll pick it up again. So you know what happened Sunday morning, don't you? Early Sunday morning, the Father raised him with all power in his hand. And that's what I want to tell you as I leave your temple. That you go home today saying, God, I know you got power. And I need about 7 more witnesses right along in there to just look somebody in the face and let them see what a living miracle looks like. Let them see what a God is saint looks like. Look them in the eye and look them in the face and say, neighbor, be not dismayed. Whatever may be the time, God, got no witness. God will take care of you. Won't he do it? Tell somebody else, God will take care of you. The third one's gonna be the one you have church with. Tell them God will take care of you. Tell them to reason I'm telling you he will, because he did it for me, and I'm glad about it. Somebody holler waymaker. Somebody holler miracle worker. I don't know what he's been in your life, but some of you want to say both of them at the same time. Waymaker, miracle worker. Come on, get you a good one in there. That's what we're declaring this week. Waymaker, miracle worker. Waymaker, miracle worker. Waymaker, miracle worker. Do you believe he still works miracles? He specializes. That's enough. That's enough. Oh! Oh! God is my refuge and my strength. He's a very present help in tight places. In your circumstances, that when you got the highs and lows of life, that means you're still alive.